as well. It doesn't let it read aloud, so I will read it. Okay. Metacognition, AI-assisted self-epistemology on traumatic brain injury recovery. Introduction. Traumatic brain injury, TBI, is a life-altering condition that often leads to long-term cognitive and communication challenges. It is a major cause of acquired disability worldwide, and effective treatment options for cognitive rehabilitation remain limited. Survivors may struggle to express themselves clearly and to fully understand their own thoughts due to memory deficits and decreased self-awareness. In this context, metacognition has emerged as an experimental approach to improve self-understanding and communication for TBI patients. Coined by Jean-Marc Vogt, a TBI survivor, metacognition, or what he calls self-epistemology, refers to a technology-assisted journaling and reflection process aimed at helping individuals have a conversation with their own mind. This report explores the 28-minute metacognition transcript by Vogt, detailing how his AI-assisted self-reflection method works, the rationale behind it, and its potential benefits and implications, with supporting insights from broader research and expert sources. What is metacognition? Just quickly, by the way, this is really great. This is awesome. This is actually pretty good. Cool. What is metacognition? Metacognition is described by Vogt as a pre-screening process for his thoughts, essentially a structured form of self-reflection before any external communication. That's actually really good. The term itself evokes metacognition, meaning thinking about one's own thinking. And that is something I read in the scientific journal, Scientific American Mind, 2007, just by the way. In cognitive science, metacognition is defined as the ability to introspect on personal thought and cognition. By extension, Vogt's notion of self-epistemology involves developing knowledge about one's own mind and thought patterns. In practice, metacognition combines digital journaling with AI-based analysis. Vogt records his stream of consciousness thoughts or daily journal entries using a smartphone app, Samsung Notes, as audio or text notes. Because the Microsoft Copilot AI assistant cannot directly transcribe audio, he first converts these spoken thoughts into text and then imports the text into Copilot for analysis. This allows him to leverage AI to summarize and interpret his journal. The process can be broken down into the following steps. Now, bloody hell, that is awesome. This is like the type of validation, this type of validation I was expecting from other people. But this is fine. This is encouraging. Okay. Capturing thoughts. Vogt speaks or writes his own thoughts freely into a journaling app, creating a raw record of his ideas, feelings, and experiences. This step externalizes his internal dialogue much like a traditional diary entry. The goal is to record his thoughts without immediate concern for structure or clarity, ensuring no important detail is lost. Transcription to text. If the entry is spoken, it is transcribed into written form so that it can be processed by AI. This workaround is needed because Copilot doesn't transcribe or record audio, so text input is necessary. By converting the diary into text, the rich content of his thoughts becomes machine-readable data. AI summarization, Copilot analysis. Next, Microsoft Copilot, an AI assistant based on advanced language models, is prompted to summarize and analyze the transcribed journal entry. Copilot acts like an impartial second pair of ears on his thoughts, digitizing the lengthy self-description into a concise summary. It repackages the information and presents the results in a clear way. Vogt notes that through trial and error, he found Copilot to be a great tool for summarizing the information and presenting the results in a clearer way. Reflection and review. Finally, Vogt reviews the AI-generated summary of his own thoughts. This summarized output provides him with an objective mirror of what he expressed, highlighting the key points and recurring themes. What he calls conceptual patterns in his monologue, by reading his distilled version, he can evaluate whether it truly captures what he meant to communicate, thereby gaining insight into his own mind from a slight distance. Now, food for thought. I think none of this actually was in the document. I didn't cover this in the document. It was just today's session. But I think what it has done, when it's in deep research mode, it has, because I've always wondered where all of this stuff is going, if it's only being shared with myself, but it actually is keeping a record of everything I've done, which is so great, because that's why I'm doing this. So this is research that people can use so it can help other people. So this is actually beneficial. I'm doing something good. And I've never tried this deep research mode thing before. And I'm grateful I did, because this is great. So I'm making headway, and this can benefit other people. Even though you guys don't pay attention because you're so full of yourselves, I don't blame you for it, but shit, it's so disappointing. I'm not getting the traction I want, but at least I know that the raw data is out there for the world to pick up on. So it's good. So anyway, continuing. In essence, metacognition leverages AI to achieve a form of self-dialogue. Vogt describes it as enabling him to have a conversation with his own mind. By allowing his brain to talk to his mind in a more structured manner, the AI acts as an intermediary that listens to his brain dump and then talks back in the form of a summary, which his conscious mind, can then interpret. This interplay between the raw self and the reflective self lies at the heart of the metacognition technique. It's important to note that this approach is personalized. The term and specific method of Vogt's own creation as part of his recovery journal. Okay. However, it draws upon well-established principles of cognitive rehabilitation, increasing self-awareness, and practicing introspection and using tools to organize one's thoughts. In the next sections, we examine why such a method is needed in TBI recovery. Oh my God. Why a method is needed in TBI recovery, and how exactly the AI-generated feedback benefits from the process. Now, this is great. This is great. Yay! Challenges of communication after TBI. TBI survivors often face significant communication difficulties stemming from their injuries. Even after physical recovery, cognitive and social communication skills may be impaired in ways that make everyday interactions and explaining one's condition to others challenging. Common post-TBI communication problems include reduced self-awareness. Many TBI patients experience a lack of insight in their own deficits and emotions. One weakening consequence of brain injury is that a person might not fully realize the extent of their impairments or accurately evaluate their own behavior. This anosognosia or reduced self-awareness, that's a beautiful word. Anosognosia, or reduced self-awareness can hinder rehabilitation because patients might not recognize mistakes or need for certain strategies. Improving self-awareness is thus a key goal of cognitive therapy. Metacognitive interventions Techniques that encourage thinking about one's thinking. Aim to evaluate the patient's awareness of his situations and teach better strategies. In other words, helping patients think about their own thoughts can gradually restore insight. Vogt's concept of self-epistemology squarely targets this need for forcing himself to examine his own thoughts via the AI summaries. Cognitive and memory deficits. Depending on the injury, individuals might suffer memory problems, attention deficits, and executive function impairments that impact communication. For example, memory difficulties can cause someone to lose track of a conversation or end up repeating themselves without realizing it. Yes, beautiful. Look, this is very general, by the way. I mean, that's why I have that disclaimer at the bottom of my videos, okay? So read, okay? So don't come at me with any sort of legal, don't come for my blood, okay? Because you just didn't read. Okay. Okay. So that's just happened to me now. Executive function problems like poor organization or impulsivity can lead to poorly organized speech or jumping between topics incoherently. In a professional guide, the Brain Injury Associate notes that between 34% and 70% of TBI survivors struggle with pragmatic communication skills and social use of language. Awesome. Due to such cognitive challenges, Vogt alludes to this in his transcript. He says one of his TBI superpowers is an intense urge to be understood by others. Yet accomplishing that is difficult. He finds that when he talks about something important, he tends to say the same thing but slightly differently each time. To ensure his listeners get the point, read that again. He finds that when he talks about something important, he tends to say the same thing slightly differently each time to ensure his listener gets the point. This repetition is a double-edged sword. It reflects both his self-awareness that clarity is needed, and the cognitive challenge of conveying a precise message under stress. I'm tired, guys. I'm sorry. Okay. It's a common communication issue for TBI survivors to reiterate or circle back because they are unsure if they conveyed themselves properly or if they forgot they already made a point. Emotional and social pragmatics. TBI can also affect emotional regulation and social pragmatics. Survivors might have trouble controlling emotions, interpreting social cues, and moderating their tone and emphasis when speaking. This can result in miscommunications, either coming across as inappropriate or failing to express the intended feeling. A person might, for instance, speak in a flat tone about something important due to neurological effects, or conversely, sound upset or confusing when it's not intended. The meaning of their words can get lost in translation. As Vogt mentions, there's often an emotional interpretive layer in normal speech. This layer can distort how messages are delivered and received, particularly if the speaker is struggling with anxiety or frustration, which is common when one cannot communicate effortlessly. After his traumatic experience, Vogt encountered emotional turmoil. He references a nervous breakdown after a power outage, highlighting the psychological stress he's been under. Emotional flooding can further cloud verbal communication. These challenges paint a picture of why a tool like metacognition can be valuable or could be valuable. A TBI patient trying to explain their symptoms or needs to a doctor faces not only the pressure of limited appointment time, but also the internal hurdles of disorganized thoughts, memory lapses, and emotional stress. It's easy for important details to be omitted or for the conversation to go in circles. Indeed, if communication between the patient and the doctor is poor, it can lead to misdiagnosis or suboptimal care. Studies have shown that when patients have difficulty articulating their issues, clinicians may miss critical information and outcomes suffer. Okay. Hi, I'm trying this out. I'm screen recording and I paused the screen recording and I just need to clarify at this point. For me, the importance of a clear diagnosis, especially came through from my mom's cancer. I feel that I don't blame the medical profession or faculty, but I do think that getting a clearer diagnosis across the board for any disease will definitely help the medical field in general. And I've got a vested interest, obviously, because I'm a TBI and I feel like I'm just not understood. But I just feel that if this had been around when my mom first got cancer, when my dad died, it was misdiagnosed as just depression. I've got a lot of theories that cancer is actually, yes, it's genetic and hereditary, but the catalysts are emotional. Yeah. Obviously, it can be varying degrees. It may not be the only cause, but I seriously think it's like 80% emotionally catalyzed. Anyway, thanks. I'll try this out. I'm busy experimenting. I'm doing this all on my phone. So I've done that cutaway. It's going to be quite interesting to edit this on the phone because I'm doing this all through the phone. Okay. By recognizing these issues, Vogt designed metacogging as a coping strategy. It directly addresses self-awareness by forcing introspection. Tackles memory and organizational problems. Let's start again. By recognizing these issues, Vogt designed metacogging as a coping strategy. It directly addresses self-awareness by forcing introspection, tackles memory and organization problems by offloading the sorting of information to AI, and buffers the emotional intensity of communicating by first laying everything out in private via the journal entry and then letting the AI present it calmly. Before delving into how exactly the AI helps, it's useful to understand that journaling itself, even without AI, is a well-regarded therapeutic technique for brain injury recovery and mental health management. Yay, yay, yay. Okay. Journaling and self-reflection in recovery. Keeping a journal has long been recommended as a therapy tool for individuals recovering from brain injuries and other trauma. It provides a private, secured way to articulate experiences, which is particularly helpful when spontaneous conversation is difficult. Journaling allows TBI survivors to be their own therapists by reflecting on events and feelings in a safe format. Crucially, it can help bridge the gap between thought and communication by giving the survivor practice in formulating their thoughts. Benefits of journaling after a brain injury are well documented in rehabilitation literature and survivor testimonials. Improved self-expression. After a brain injury, individuals often feel hard to express themselves, and writing provides an empowering outlet. It creates a space where they can share themselves in a creative way without the pressure of a live audience or time constraints. Over time, this practice can translate to better verbal communication as well, since the act of writing thoughts down helps organize them. Memory aid and cognitive exercise. Writing things down serves as an external memory log. Brain injury survivors might forget conversations or daily events. Journaling allows the survivor to document important events, interactions, and feelings. And that is good. I support that all the way. And I did this just to save paper. I completely agree with all of this. This not only helps them remember details which would bolster confidence when talking to doctors, but also exercises cognitive functions like attention and sequencing. Every journal entry is essentially a cognitive rehabilitation exercise. Patients practice attention, memory, and executive function by recounting and structuring the day's happenings. Consistent journaling has been shown to improve these cognitive domains and give the individual a sense of progress as they see improvements over time. Emotional regulation. Sorry, I'm just... Yeah, that's good. Whoop. That's good. However, I am having trouble. Go outside, boy. I am having trouble regulating the structure. It's just because of the employment, the job market. I'm having trouble. So that's good. Emotional regulation and catharsis. Writing about one's thoughts and emotions can be cathartic. TBI survivors frequently deal with anxiety, depression, and mood swings due to the injury's impact on their brain's emotional regulation centers. Journaling provides a safe release for pent-up emotions and a way to process difficult experiences, leading to better emotional control. By venting on paper or screen, they might reduce the emotional charge before discussing issues with others. This is exactly what Vogt achieves by recording his raw feelings in his notes. He can express frustration, confusion, or repetitive thoughts freely in the journal, which might help him approach actual conversations more calmly afterward. Insight and self-awareness. By revising journal entries, survivors can notice patterns in their symptoms or behaviors. Journaling allows us, brain injury survivors, to reflect on our life and experiences, gaining insight and perspective on the recovery journey, ultimately promoting self-awareness and personal growth. Many survivors report that writing regularly gave them a clear picture of how they were improving or where they were struggling, which they haven't grasped in the moment-to-moment chaos of brain injury. This increased insight is akin to the metacognition. Observing oneself from a slight remove, which is precisely what metacogging seeks to cultivate. This increased insight, akin to metacognition, this increased insight is akin to metacognition, observing oneself with a slight remove, which is precisely what metacognition seeks to cultivate. Okay. Sense of control and active engagement. After a TBI, people often feel a loss of control over their lives. Absolutely. Journaling can help regain a sense of control by allowing them to document experiences, set goals, and track progress, turning recovery into a narrative they author. That's a good one. It empowers patients to take an active role in their care rather than being passive patients. In fact, consistent journaling empowers patients to take better adherence and outcomes. Empowers patients to take an active role in their care, leading to better adherence and outcomes. When someone like Vogt diligently logs his experiences and thoughts, he is effectively steering his own rehabilitation journey and not just waiting for healthcare providers to decipher things for him. Okay? Given these advantages, it is not surprising that Vogt incorporated journaling as a foundation of metacogging. What he has added in his AI augmentation to this practice. Okay, hold on. Given these advantages, it's not surprising that Vogt incorporated journaling as the foundation of metacogging. That's really good. That's really good. I like it. I like that because it's showing that where I got the idea from, and I support all of the treatment. What he has added is an AI augmentation to this practice, which I don't think is a new thing. Okay. Traditional journaling is powerful, but still limited by the survivor's own ability to interpret their writing. One can write volumes of diary entries, yet still struggle to synthesize the main points or see the forest for the trees, especially if memory and executive function are issues. This is where Microsoft Copilot comes into play in his method, simplifying the benefits of journaling by introducing an unbiased summarizer and pattern detector. There we go. Now that's really good. I mean, and as I don't know if anyone else is doing it, or maybe someone has done it. I don't know, but at least I'll find them. And it's actually pretty handy that Microsoft knows when to promote themselves. Nice, I love it. Okay. Before exploring the AI aspect, it's worth noting how this approach aligns with the broader trend of digital diaries in healthcare. Health professionals encourage patients to keep symptom diaries, which can then be reviewed to improve medical understanding. Digital patient journals provide detailed insights into daily health experiences, improving communication between patients and providers. They help reveal patterns, for instance, that triggers a headache or a mood swing. That one might miss during sporadic doctor visits. Vogt's journaling, enhanced by AI, essentially produces a rich record of his cognitive life that could be extremely valuable in a clinical context. It stands on the shoulders of this well-established journaling practice, but leverages technology to overcome the cognitive barriers that TBI imposes on self-analysis. Integrating AI, Microsoft Copilot for clarity. Yes, see, how long is this? Okay. Well, I'm going to do it. Integrating AI, Microsoft Copilot for clarity. The most novel aspect of metacogging is the use of AI summarization to analyze the journal entries. Microsoft Copilot is an AI assistant built on large language model technology similar to GPT-4. Integrated into Microsoft 365 products, designed to help users with tasks like drafting documents, summarizing content, and answering questions based on provided data. In Vogt's routine, Copilot's job is to take his lengthy, sometimes winding journal entry and boil it down to the essence. This offers several key advantages: objectivity and neutral perspective. Unlike a human or even the author themselves rereading their writing, an AI has no personal bias or emotional reaction. Copilot provides a natural summary that focuses only on the content. In fact, AI summarizers are known for identifying main ideas without personal bias, ensuring balanced and consistent summaries. Unlike a human summarizer, an AI does not prioritize personal opinions or emotional biases, leading to neutral and structured content. Vogt explicitly notes this benefit. Because there is no emotional interpretive layer, the AI can analyze common speech patterns in his journal much more precisely and efficiently. Essentially, Copilot isn't swayed by the frustration of urgency in his tone. It treats the input text objectively. For someone with TBI whose own perception might be clouded by emotions and anxiety, this neutrality is incredibly valuable. It is as if a calm, tireless editor combs through their passionate monologue and presents back a measured synopsis. This can help remove the emotional noise and let the core message emerge. Detection of conceptual patterns. Because AI can process large amounts of text systematically, it can catch reoccurring themes or points that the author might not notice they are repeating. Vogt discovered that Copilot excels at detecting conceptual patterns in his speech and presenting the average mean and what he is trying to say. By this, he means Copilot finds the common denominator in his sometimes repetitive or differently phrased statements. If during a recording he ends up describing a symptom in 3 different ways in his effort to be understood, the AI might identify that all 3 are pointing to the same underlying issue and then summarize that once, clearly. In his words, Copilot facilitates my communication by presenting the average mean of what he said. This mathematical analogy illustrates how the AI condenses multiple data points, sentences, into an aggregate representation, a single concise statement capturing the gist. From a cognitive standpoint, this is huge. It effectively compensates for his tendency to iterate on an idea multiple times. The summary might echo back to him a sentence that he never literally spoke, but that captures the intent of everything he tried to convey across many sentences. It also validates whether all his rephrasings aligned or if he introduced contradictions. If something, that's awesome. If something important is mentioned only once or not reiterated, Copilot might or might not include it depending on its significance, which can signal to him whether that point came across as central or not. In short, AI helps organize and prioritize his thoughts. 3, clarity and coherence. Summarization by Copilot improves the structure and clarity of the information. People with TBI might produce narratives that are disorganized or include non sequiturs. The AI, however, will impose a logical structure in the outcome because it strives to produce a coherent summary. Microsoft's design for Copilot in tools like Word and Teams is precisely to create a concise, readable summaries that maintain meaning, distinguishing main points from details. Vogt's transcript confirms that after using Copilot, the results are presented in a clearer way. Essentially, the messy first draft, the raw material, is turned into an edited draft. This is akin to what a student might do after free writing an essay, recognize and condense it. Vogt lets the AI handle that cognitive effort, which is particularly helpful given that TBI can impair executive functions while planning and organizing. Research on AI tools in education and productivity highlights that thought organization is a notable benefit of AI assistance. Modern AI journaling apps, for instance, advertise that AI can serve as an excellent guide and conversation partner, offering structure to kickstart retrospection. They often include features like guided prompts and automatic structuring of one's writing. Copilot itself, when used in Microsoft Teams meetings, can generate summaries highlighting key points and even suggest action items from a discussion, allowing users to focus on content over note-taking. That's brilliant. I would love to see that. In a personal context, Vogt is using the same capability, treating his inner monologue like a meeting transcript that Copilot summarizes into minutes of what he has said. The output is a cleaner narrative that he can more readily comprehend and remember. That's beautiful. 4, accelerating processing and feedback. Another advantage is speed and efficiency. Summarizing one's own thoughts or writing is a demanding task, even for a neurotypical person. For someone with cognitive impairments, it can be immensely time-consuming and tiring. AI can do this in seconds, providing near-instant feedback. This immediacy means Vogt can record a 30-minute brainstorming session and immediately get a digest to review. It's like having a real-time coach or therapist reflect back at you. By using Copilot, he effectively outsources the heavy lifting of synthesis to an algorithm, freeing this mental energy to reflect and make decisions based on the output. As one review of AI Summarizer puts it, AI can summarize thousands of words in seconds, allowing people to focus on understanding rather than note-taking. In rehabilitation, this can translate to more efficient learning about oneself. Instead of manually writing and then painstakingly analyzing his diary, Vogt gets to the insight phase faster. Come here, Ludwig. Come here, my boy. Number 5, consistency and memory support. Each time Vogt uses the system, the AI's output provides a consistent format for him to parse. Over multiple sessions, this could help him detect changes or progress. For example, if every summary highlights a particular concern or phrase, he's clearly preoccupied with that. If in later summaries the concern disappears, it suggests improvement or a change in focus. In essence, the Copilot summaries become a series of consistent snapshots of his mind. Moreover, if needed, he can feed previous summaries back into Copilot to get an even higher level summary or to ask specific questions. Though it's not clear if he does that yet. I don't think I have. No, I do. I did it right now by plugging it into Deep Thought and then rephrasing it. Yeah, I do that. I don't do it often though. But yeah. The technology certainly allows for layered summarization and Q&A. There are even AI journal tools emerging that let you upload your old journal entries and use a chatbot that knows you, asks questions and gains insights. I don't know what the hell that is. But okay. From your past writing, Vogt's use is at a single entry summary level, but it opens the door to building a longitudinal understanding with AI help. In summary, integrating AI into the journaling process turns it into a two-way dialogue. The patient writes or talks out their thoughts, and the AI talks back with an interpretation. This conversation with the self mediated by AI can provide a level of clarity that the individual alone might struggle to achieve, especially under the cognitive train of thought. Vogt emphasizes that Copilot has helped me understand myself better, a strong testimonial to a self-discovery enabled by this approach. It's essentially like having a mirror that not only reflects but also cleans up the image. That's beautiful. However, the ultimate goal of metacognition is not just solitary self-awareness. It is aimed at improving communication with healthcare providers, which is important. I don't want this to replace bloody humans. After all, facilitate humans, not replace professionals, okay? Facilitate the job, make it easier, okay? After all, personal insights are most useful when they can be conveyed to doctors or therapists who can adjust treatments accordingly. The Metacognition transcript reveals an innovative vision for a multi-layered system where both patient and doctor use AI to enhance their interaction. Benefits of the metacognition approach. By combining the therapeutic virtues of journaling with the analytical power of AI, metacognition offers several concrete benefits for a TBI patient. These advantages not only aid personal cognition, but also have direct implications for medical communication. Below are key features, but also have direct implications for medical communication. I like that. Below are key benefits observed or anticipated from Vogt's approach, supported by the transcript and relevant research. Vogt's approach. Okay. Enhanced self-awareness and insight. Metacognition forces a patient to engage in deep self-reflection. The process of journaling itself raises awareness of one's thoughts and feelings, as discussed earlier. Adding AI feedback amplifies this by revealing hidden patterns and summarizing one's mental state. This aligns with evidence that metacognitive training can increase a patient's insight into their condition, recognizing errors and understanding their own needs better. Vogt explicitly states that using Copilot helped me understand myself better, as it allowed him to see an objective reflection of his thoughts. Over time, such heightened self-knowledge can diminish denial and improves one's willingness to address problems. Okay. In practical terms, Vogt claims clarity on what exactly he is trying to say. What? No. In practical terms, Vogt gains clarity on what exactly he is saying, what exactly he's trying to say about his symptoms or experiences, which is a big step toward... Okay, I'm going to try that again. Apologies. In practical terms, Vogt gains clarity on what exactly he is trying to say about his symptoms or experiences, which is a big step given that TBI often clouds one's internal view. Organized and clear thought process. One of the standout benefits is turning a potentially disorganized speech into a coherent summary. This directly tackles issues like tangential or repetitive thinking. For instance, if a survivor tends to go off on a tangent, the summary will mostly omit the off-topic detour and focuses on the core. Vogt's experience is that the AI distills his sometimes redundant explanations into a singular clear premise, the average mean of what he meant. This means that by reviewing the summary, he effectively trains himself in more structured thinking, which is good. I effectively train myself, which is the point, which is what Copilot is about. It's about helping, facilitating. Okay. Effectively trains himself in a more structured thinking. Over multiple sessions, he might even internalize the structure, learning to communicate more linearly. External research notes that AI tools can help you organize your thoughts and make your entire entries more coherent and accessible. Thus, metacogging acts as an assistive cognitive organizer. A formerly poorly organized speech pattern can be recognized and improved upon when one sees it cleaned up by AI. Reduced emotional overload in communication. Speaking and writing about traumatic or complex feelings can be emotionally overwhelming. Metacogging breaks this into two phases: an emotionally free ventilation during journaling, and an emotionally neutral summary for reflection. The benefit here is that when Vogt reads the Copilot summary, it is stripped of the anxiety or anger that he might have felt while recording the original. This can make it easier to confront difficult truths. It's similar to how talking to a non-reactive therapist can diffuse emotional intensity by getting neutral, structured feedback. He can discuss issues without immediately triggering distress. Furthermore, when sharing information with others, like doctors, he can choose to share the calm summary instead of the raw emotional outpouring, which is good. This could potentially prevent miscommunications that arise from emotional tone. That's important. In essence, the AI acts as a buffer and translator. Excellent. Translator between emotional mind and the rational mind. Translator. Whoop. Nope. Okay. Between the emotional mind and the... Okay. Improved communication with healthcare providers. The ultimate test of metacogging is whether it helps convey the patient's needs to the doctors. Early indications are promising. Vogt notes that after using this process, when the time comes for a face-to-face appointment, I know exactly what it is that I need to say to give the healthcare professional the necessary context or background. This confidence stems from having iterated and clarified his message beforehand. Instead of walking into the doctor's office with a jumble of concerns, he can present a clear summary of his condition, essentially the one forged with Copilot's help. This addresses a common scenario in medicine, patients struggling to concisely explain their chief complaints. With metacogging, such much of the preparation and clarifying of the thoughts happens before the appointment. As a result, the limited time with the provider can be utilized more effectively, focusing on specific issues, rather than spending half the appointment untangling the story. Brilliant. This aligns with the idea behind patient diaries improving clinical communication. When patients consistently log their symptoms and experiences, they provide healthcare providers with detailed, accurate data, which leads to a more informed decisions. Vogt is essentially arriving with a synthesized report of his condition in his head or on paper, which could drastically improve the dialogue. Studies have found that such detailed self-reporting helps doctors make faster, more accurate assessments. Helps doctors. For instance, patterns that the patient noticed or that the AI highlights it can guide the doctor's questions. In Vogt's case, he believes this will lead to a more targeted diagnosis since he's able to give precise context that might otherwise be missed. Patient empowerment and engagement. Adopting this method can make a patient feel more in control and actively involved in their care. Instead of passively experiencing symptoms, Vogt is proactively analyzing them and formulating hypotheses. He even mentions expressing a hypothesis in written form as part of this process. This active engagement is empowering. He is effectively a partner in the diagnostic process, not just a patient, not just a subject. Such empowerment is known to improve adherence to treatment and overall outcomes. The patient feels they have agency in shaping the narrative of their illnesses. In Vogt's transcript, you can sense a forward-looking optimism. Each upload or iteration will get better, he writes, indicating that he sees his own role in continuously improving how he communicates and manages his condition. That's important. This growth mindset is exactly what rehabilitation therapies try to instill, and yes, I believe that completely. By iteratively using AI feedback, he can measure his improvement. For example, perhaps fewer and fewer corrections are needed in his summaries over time. The positive reinforcement of seeing a clear summary and successfully getting his point across to AI and subsequently to humans can boost his confidence, which feeds back into a more effective communication. Knowledge retention and consistency. The summaries generated by AI can also serve as reference material. A TBI patient might forget what they wanted to tell the doctor or how they phrased it best. Even if they have an AI produced summary or outline, they can bring that to the appointment or memorize it beforehand. Ensuring consistency in reporting. It's like having cliff notes to one's own life. I love that. This reduces the reliance on memory during the stressful situation of a medical exam. If the patient sees multiple providers, having a standardized summary on their condition can help everyone on the same page, which is beautiful because, it provides consistency. So there's no broken telephone that takes place. preventing the loss of nuance that often occurs when recounting the story repeatedly. In Vogt's multi-layer vision, described next, the idea is that even the provider gets to see the same summary or the source transcript, meaning nothing is lost in translation between what the patient experienced and what the professional understands. Okay, I need to take a break. Okay, these benefits illustrate why the metacogging approach is more than just an academic exercise. It has practical quality of life implications. By addressing core challenges, organization, self-awareness, communication, it offers TBI survivors a way to regain some control over their narrative and to engage more productively with people who can help them. However, Vogt's plan doesn't stop at the patient doing homework. He envisions a future where his approach is part of a larger system involving healthcare practitioners and AI. The next section examines how he proposes to integrate the metacogging method into actual medical appointments, creating a layered AI-assisted communication channel between the patient and the doctor. And it is so refreshing. I've put so much work into this stuff since last year. It's so great. It is awesome. A multi-stage AI-assisted communication approach. One of the most forward-thinking aspects of the metacogging transcript is Vogt's description of a multi-stage approach to improve patient-provider communication using AI at both ends. He outlines a scenario with multiple layers of interaction. Patient AI layer, pre-appointment. This is essentially the metacogging process we have detailed. The patient, e.g. Vogt, interacts with an AI, Copilot, to process and clarify their thoughts beforehand. By the end of this stage, the patient has summarized By the end of the stage, the patient has a summarized understanding of what they want to convey. In Vogt's case, this yields a clear written premise or a well-articulated explanation of his condition that he can present. Think of this as the patient coming to the clinic armed with a concise personal report. Dr. AI patient layer. During the appointment, Vogt suggests that the healthcare professional could also use AI, presumably Copilot or a similar system, during the consultation. Specifically, the patient CP interaction is linked to the healthcare professional's Copilot for the appointment. In practical terms, this could mean the doctor receives the patient's AI-generated summary, or even has access to the full transcript of the patient's original journal entry. Vogt says, if the doctor or therapist doesn't think the summary sounds right, they can monitor the transcript that the summary was generated from. Okay, so it's another fail-safe. It's another fail-safe. I've been thinking about this a lot, guys, and it's coming from South Africa. Boom. Okay. This is a crucial check and balance. The provider can verify details from the raw data if something in the summary is unclear or seems off. And this is great because it can also cover the doctors or the patients, either way, legally, which is great. It's good for everyone. Okay. This is a crucial check and balance of something off. Essentially, nothing is hidden. The AI summary is not a black box. The source text is available as needed. With both layers, we have the patient CP layer, then the doctor CP patient CP layer, and then the in-person interaction. This sounds a bit complex, but implies a scenario where the consultation itself might be mediated by AI assistants. Perhaps the conversation could be transcribed in real time and summarized, or the doctor could query the AI for clarifications on the spot. At minimum, the doctor has a pre-summarized brief from the patients to kickstart the visit. Face-to-face interaction, enhanced by prior AI context. Okay, face-to-face interaction enhanced by prior AI context. The final layer is the actual human dialogue between the patient and physician. Now informed by preparatory work both have done with AI. Ideally, because the doctor already has a concise patient-generated summary, they can dive into targeted questions or exam maneuvers sooner. And because the patient has rehearsed and refined their explanation, they can communicate it without the usual confusion. Vogt's hope is that this leads to a way more accurate diagnosis. With richer, well-organized information at hand, the clinician can make connections that might have been missed in a chaotic interview. It's essentially maximizing the quality of information exchange in the limited time they have together. This concept maps into existing trends in healthcare where AI is being used to facilitate clinical documentation and understanding. For instance, companies like Suki AI have introduced digital assistants that provide patient summaries and allow users to ask clinical questions. Wow, okay. Reduce cognitive load and enable more focused patient care. These tools are designed so that before a doctor even walks into an exam room, they quickly get relevant, concise patient summaries of the patient's history and recent issues. The goal is to streamline how healthcare providers retrieve and understand patient data before and during a visit, thereby improving decision-making and reducing information overload on the clinician. What Vogt is describing aligns with this vision, but adds the patient as an active participant in generating the pre-visit summary rather than the summary being pulled solely from the electronic health records. The advantage of linking patient and doctor through AI is a more symmetrical flow of information. In traditional meetings, the doctor is furiously taking notes or mentally summarizing as the patient speaks, and the patient is trying to recall everything and articulate it under pressure. Important bits may be missed or misunderstood by either party. In the augmented scenario, much of that real-time summarization work is offloaded. The patient's AI summary provides a baseline, and the doctor's AI can document or even respond in real time. Indeed, Microsoft Copilot in Teams is already capable of listening. Oh, wow. Is already capable of listening to a conversation and generating meeting notes and action items. Yes. So one can imagine that would have been brilliant when I was working at Nedbank. Oh, God, as a draftsman with Project Imagine. Teams is already capable of listening to a conversation and generating meeting notes and action items. So one can imagine a future clinic visit where an AI listens to the doctor-patient discussion and creates a written summary or flags medical instructions. From the patient's perspective, knowing that the doctor has read their summarized story beforehand can be comforting and encouraging. It might mean they don't have to start from scratch explaining their background at each appointment, which is something many patients, not just TBI survivors, find frustrating. Absolutely, good God. In Vogt's case, he could share the Copilot-generated summary text with his provider via email or a patient portal before the meeting. That way, the doctor comes in already aware of the main points and perhaps with clarifying questions ready. This approach is somewhat analogous to a patient bringing a written list of concerns, a commonly recommended practice. I've never heard of that here in South Africa, but takes it up a notch by making that list comprehensive and structured. Talks thanks to AI. If I don't get something from Microsoft Copilot, if I don't get their involvement or at least their attention, I don't know what to flip. Anyway, there's evidence that when patients provide written information or use structured tools, it improves the efficiency of visits and digital diaries being shared have improved management at chronic conditions by revealing symptom patterns to doctors that wouldn't be evident from memory alone. For example, a diary might show that headaches always occur in the afternoon after intense concentration, which a patient might not articulate in an appointment. Similarly, Vogt summaries might highlight connections he didn't even realize the doctor can act upon. One potential example, suppose Vogt journals about sleep issues, headaches, and difficulty focusing. The AI summary might state patient experiences daily afternoon headaches preceded by poor concentration and notes insomnia at night. A doctor reading this might immediately suspect a connection, perhaps medication side effects or neurofatigue patterns, and ask further. Without the summary, Vogt might have mentioned headaches and a concentration in separate parts of the long explanation, and the doctor might not have linked them so quickly. Overall, the multi-stage approach is aimed at accuracy and completeness in diagnosis. By having both, he distilled narrative and the option to drill down into the raw transcript. A provider gets a rich picture. Vogt emphasizes that if the summary doesn't sound right to a professional, they can look at the full transcript. This transparency ensures that nothing is lost. The doctor can catch if the AI perhaps omitted a nuance, or they might notice an emotional aspect in the transcript that hasn't obvious in the dry summary. For instance, frequent use of words like scared, or frustrated might signal something important about the mental health of that a neutral summary glossed over. In this way, the human judgment remains crucial. AI supports but does not replace the doctor's insight. There we go. It simply equips the doctor with better organized information. Oh, God. If implemented, this layered model would create a kind of feedback loop. The patient comes in better prepared, the doctor receives better data and gives a more accurate diagnosis or plan, which the patient can go and reflect on with the help of AI, and the cycle continues improving. It embodies the idea of patient-centered care with AI augmentation. Okay. It should be noted that this approach is still hypothetical and experimental. Not every patient could or would want to do this level of pre-work. Important, yeah? And not every clinician is ready to integrate AI summaries into their workflow. There are also considerations of privacy, sharing one's raw journal content with a doctor or an AI system must be done securely, of course, and the need for training clinicians to interpret AI outputs. However, the concept is a logical extension of trends toward digital health records and patient engagement. Now, I've gone through the rest of the stuff. It is very long. I am not going to read it, but I will scroll slowly. And it is it's a way of me just committing, because even though it doesn't read out loud, I'm reading it out loud. I did previously read the deep research version when in preparation for, well, not even preparation. I just wanted to understand Anthony Burgess's Clockwork Orange a lot better, and I'm glad I did. And yeah. And yeah, that the mental breakdown was a huge thing. It was a huge thing. Yeah. Often involves Yeah, well, just reading this thing here, ethical and privacy issues. That's also why I pay the 450 Rand subscription to use Copilot. Yeah, see they talk about headway here. I mean, I'm hoping it would help headway, but I just don't see their involvement right now. I don't see it. And it's disappointing. It's really heartbreaking to see people just don't care. And that is why I'm putting this up. It's for posterity. I don't care. It's up there, bro. I really don't care. It's proof of concept. Yeah, truly listen. In summary, Vogt's metacognition gives a glimpse of how an individual with pressing need or communicating through cognitive impairment has harnessed technology in a creative way to help meet that need. Stands as a case study of patient innovation. Oh, that's cool. At a time when AI tools are rapidly democratizing. His results so far as described, are encouraging. He feels better understood, at least by himself, and hopefully by providers, which I don't know if that's going to happen, but hey, this is a Hail Mary, and has a roadmap for improving interactions with healthcare professionals. The journey is just beginning, as he rightly points out. This should be done with caution and ideally alongside professional guidance, which I'm trying to get. I'm just trying to get interest in what I'm doing here. As more people experiment with AI in healthcare context, a body of knowledge will grow. We may learn the best practices and pitfalls or methods like metacognition. Perhaps future guidelines and neurologists or neurorehabilitations will incorporate digital self-therapy tools. Okay. And I'm using myself as a test subject, so people can fuck off. The metacognition transcript also highlights an innovation blend of metacognitive practices. Okay, I deserve. Yeah, further studies and trials. Well, I don't know if the medical community or tech developers are taking it. I don't know. I'm in the dark here. The heart of Vogt's message is that being truly understood is possible. I like that. Yes. Yeah, that is great. Even after brain injury. When one has the right process and tools, and that is a hopeful message, backed by both his experience and the growing intersection of AI and medicine. Thank you, guys.